All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday, and you know what that means. It's time to do the Tao now. Reading from Dr. Wayne W. Dyer's Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, Living the Wisdom of the Tao. And you know, this has been a fantastic series. I really believe so. It's a fantastic book. It's a fantastic philosophy, and it makes me wonder how some people just don't care to increase the quality of their life by a little bit of study and research. You know, maybe it's that the work is too much. People don't want to put in the effort. Or, I don't have enough time or whatever it may be. But it's like, I think to me, the fact once I found out that there is a way that you can do something to change the quality of your life and have some kind of control over your own life and how you feel about what happens to you in your life, and begin to change your thoughts, and in turn change the way you experience and what happens in your entire life. Change what you see, and the things that you see change. Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change, ladies and gentlemen. Now, these are all cliches that we've heard, but how seriously do we take them? I mean, it's common sense, but is it common practice? Ladies and gentlemen, we all know this, but do we all practice it? And so today we're practicing it, ladies and gentlemen, increasing the quality of our lives in order to increase the quality of the lives of people around us and in our communities. Because, you can't help somebody else until you've helped yourself. And some people will argue, oh, that's a foolish thing to say. That's selfish. And, all of these other things like that. But it's like, truly, if you're not good in your own place, and I'm talking about in here and in here, if you're not good in your own temple, if you want to call it that, in your own spiritual place, it's like you become a burden to those around you. You drag people down. And so we don't want to do that. We want to lift people up, ladies and gentlemen. Today's reading by Dr. Wayne W. Dyer is titled Living Without Weapons. And this is the 31st verse of the Tao Te Ching. Now, these verses always go a different direction than I expect them to be, because the titles are just it's so paradoxical. You could try to title, it's exactly like the titles of these videos. Everything that's discussed here is impossible to put into a simple 100-character title. So we'll just dive right in, ladies and gentlemen, to the 31st verse of the Tao Te Ching. Weapons, the verse begins, are the tools of violence. All decent men detest them. Therefore, followers of the Tao never use them. Arms serve evil. They are the tools of those who oppose wise rule. Use them only as a last resort, for peace and quiet are dearest to the decent man's heart. And to him, even a victory is no cause for rejoicing. He who thinks triumph beautiful is one with a will to kill, and one with a will to kill shall never prevail upon the world. It is a good sign when man's higher nature comes forward, a bad sign when his lower nature comes forward. When the slaughter of multitudes, we have grief and sorrow. Every victory is a funeral. When you win a war, you celebrate by mourning. Wow. See, this is almost one of the subjects that I would skip, because I'm more into, living the perfect goodness of the Tao and self-mastery and the great way and all these mystical concepts, living in obscurity and one with your own nature and all this kind of stuff. But it does, it's important to understand and talk about sometimes living without force in leadership, or, living as the enlightened leader, or living without weapons, which is a topic that could be very controversial to most people nowadays, especially with what's going on. Some people say, that's a different subject. We're not going to go there in this video. But so what stood out to me in this verse here is that one line, for peace and quiet are the dearest to the decent woman's heart. And it's like, arms serve evil. They're only the tools of those who oppose wisdom. Use them, though, only as a last resort. So it's like the samurai has lost once he has drawn his sword. There is a wisdom that can be used to resolve conflict before it comes to violence. And this is what Living Without Force was talking last week. And so this is fascinating. I wonder where Wayne Dyer will go here in this reading. So let's just dive right into what Dr. Dyer has to say here. Living without weapons. The 31st verse of the Tao Te Ching unequivocally states that implements of violence serve evil. Lao-tzu clearly knew that the weapons designed to kill are tools of futility and should be avoided if you choose to live according to the principles of the Tao. This includes the design, production, marketing, and distribution, and of course, the use of weapons in the business of killing. The Tao is about life. Weapons are about death. The Tao is a creative force. Weapons are about destruction. Humanity has failed to learn this profound teaching of the Tao Te Ching, which was written when weapons consisted mainly of bows and arrows and spears and hatchets and the like. So, it's fascinating to think of where we've come with our great tools of destroying each other and this lack of understanding nature and harmony. And when I say nature, I'm not talking about flowers and trees and things. I'm talking about the workings of life itself. And so from his position as an observer of being of divine wisdom, Lao-tzu recognized that there is no victory in any activity where killing takes place, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Because all people, regardless of their geographic location or belief system, are connected to each other by their originating spirit. So I'll add, and I've heard before, it's like when you kill any human, or when you judge any human, or degrade any human, you judge, kill, degrade the generic human. In other words, that which we all are. I always thought that was fascinating, kind of was powerful to me. Regardless of their geographical location or belief system, we all come from, retain, and return to the Tao, or the source, or spirit, or the non-physical realm, whatever you want to call it, ladies and gentlemen. This is most important, to come to that understanding in your own way and not have it shoved down your throat and be convinced by other people that this is right. Because unless you know it in your own self, then you can't really know it absolutely. And so, because all people, regardless of their geographic location or belief system, we all come from, retain, and return to this same source. When we destroy each other, we're destroying our opportunity to allow the Tao, the force, the divine universal intelligence, to inform us, to flow freely in and through the form we're in currently. What appears to our ego to be a victory to celebrate is really a funeral, a time to mourn. Lao-tzu reminds us that taking pleasure in winning a battle is aligned with an ego will to kill. The Tao has only a creative, nurturing, and loving will. On this physical plane, our highest nature expresses itself through the precepts of the Tao, while our lowest nature expresses itself by engaging in the business of killing. The written history of humankind involves wars as far back as it can go, Wayne Dyer continues, and we measure our supposed march towards civilization by the sophistication of our weapons. Fascinating. We've advanced from simple spears used in close individual combat to bows and arrows that kill from a short distance, to rifles and explosives and devices that execute from farther away, and bombs that disseminate when dropped from the air, we've reached the level where we have to invent terms like megadeath. This this chapter's on to something here. And weapons of mass destruction to describe our current abilities to annihilate each other, millions of people and other life forms, with, what used to be the single shot of an arrow. The current level of presumably enlightened sophistication means that we have the capacity to destroy all life on our planet with the weapons we've amassed. This is why I was going to skip this chapter. I don't really like talking about this kind of stuff. It's when you have a greater understanding of the nature of the current state of reality. This is almost like basics and beginning here in understanding that the difference between good and evil, even though they're two parts of the same spectrum, two parts of the same coin. Now let's continue though, because Wayne Dyer is always wonderful, teaches us great things. The current level of the perilous state has emerged because we've ignored the basic tenet of the Tao Te Ching, particularly, and when it says the Tao Te Ching, think of the great way, great teachings, great understanding, great wisdom, great harmony. It's like we've ignored all of this because we just want to be better, and we're just crazy sometimes, it seems like, when we don't put our efforts into being greater than we are. And I think that's what stands out to me today, is that it seems like our efforts are so often put in the wrong direction without any thought to it at all. And so if there's anything you get from this today, it's like, start to realize that you can change your life, change the world, by putting your efforts in a new direction, in a direction that will cause growth and greatness and love and harmony and contentment and happiness and health and all the great things that we want in our lives, ladies and gentlemen, including wealth, which rhymes with health. So I had to finish. That was a good little thing there. But let's continue, ladies and gentlemen. I believe that Lao-tzu, Wayne Dyer saying, he goes, the Tao Te Ching particularly is stressed in the infinite wisdom of this verse. Arms serve evil. They are the tools of those who oppose wise rule, which I like to switch to those who oppose great wisdom there. And so Wayne Dyer goes on by saying, I believe that Lao-tzu was not only speaking about physical weapons. See, I didn't expect it to go here. This is where it gets good. But also non-physical behaviors that are just as destructive. These include violent words, gestures, and threats that aren't a part of humankind's higher nature. If you change the way you look at your world, you must include noticing your language and your demeanor, the way you talk about your world. Do you demonstrate that you're a person who values life in all of its costumes? Are you someone who wouldn't take up any type of arms, be they physical or not, against another? Unless alternative means have been exhausted. We're not going to go there in this video. And then, if forced to injure another, are you able to feel compassion for your so-called enemy? Weapons designed to kill are inconsistent with the very essence of the Tao. Thus, you must make every effort to be peaceful and harmonious with its life-giving energy. The massive proliferation of guns and non-physical weapons in our modern society is a giant step away from humankind's highest nature. I believe, though, that we have made more progress than ever and that we are on the path to the golden age. Just look up the Yuga cycles from Sri Yukteswar's The Laws of Manu, I think. Could be wrong on that, but feels right. It was a great teaching. Sheldon Moore, I have his book over here on the shelf too. It's reawaken the Buddha nature within, remember Zen. And I'm excited to get into that book in the future. And if you are, leave me a comment. Let me know if that's something you'd like me to get into, that we can elaborate on and learn from and begin to take our lives to a higher level. All right, ladies and gentlemen, continuing on. So replace defending the right to own and use weapons with the Tao consciousness, that we certainly have the right to own and use weapons, only when it is the last possible resort and we still have the utmost understanding, harmony, and connection with, and compassion and empathy for our opponents in all situations. Then you are above the evil ego will to kill, I believe. That's my extrapolation here. Because sometimes these things can be taken the wrong way. And you're like, oh, he's just saying to never use guns. Like, if somebody, we're going to take our fists to a gunfight here, you know, it's, you're still on a lower level when you're thinking that way. So if you are thinking that way, then continue joining us, ladies and gentlemen, because we're getting to the higher level by going through this kind of stuff. Now, so replace defending the right to own and use weapons with the Tao consciousness. Seek instead to aspire to a time when our collective human energy is elevated. Oh, see, even Wayne Dyer believes that there was a time in the past when we were higher than we are today, not only in consciousness, but in our societal structures, in our ability, the collective human energy. Think back. Instead, aspire to a time when our collective human energy is elevated to such a high status that even the contemplation of killing is impossible. And we are headed that way, ladies and gentlemen. I am adding this. This is called the Golden Age. Happened once every 24,000 years, but for, you know, a few thousand years. And it's a cycle, hence the term cycle. At the top, there's a broader span of the Golden Age, and it goes down into the silver and the bronze, and the Dark Age at the bottom. And it's simple, 12,000 years, 12,000 years, 12 hours in half a day, 12 hours in another half a day, 24 hours. Anyways, there's a lot of correlations, and that's a whole nother subject. If you'd like me to expand upon my ideas about the cycles of time and the Golden Age and all of that stuff, then leave me a comment about that and let me know. But I'm getting way off topic here, ladies and gentlemen, which is what I love to do. All right, too much research in the background. I've been doing this for quite a few years now, and the subjects I research are just so numerous that everything begins connecting. And it's important to understand everything, because then you can connect and make, you know, thus, he goes, when, you know, this alternative means has been exhausted, and then if forced to, it's like compassion. I'm losing my place here, ladies and gentlemen. The right to own and use can also be in alignment with the Tao consciousness. Seek instead to aspire when the time or a time when our human energy is elevated to such a high level that society is just at a consciousness level. Like, think about, I don't know, what's something that, think about something that, you know, 50 to 100 years ago was just totally normal, everyday, average stuff. And now today, we're just of a different consciousness to where that is no longer a thing. People just don't do it anymore. And there's a lot of examples for that kind of stuff. And it's fascinating if you look at history that way, and you'll start to notice a lot of things that are, it's just like our collective consciousness and energy changes to a different level. Some people are always convincing us that it's getting worse, and it's worse than it's ever been before. But I stand here to tell you that I firmly believe it's the best it's ever been, and it's getting better, faster than we can imagine. And it's just a matter of changing the way you look at the world, and the world you begin to see will be a totally different one than someone who is looking for nothing but, you know, the negative. There's a great saying that says you can look out there in the world and find whatever it is you're looking for, because there's plenty of everything. And so I'm going to continue before I continue rambling on. Wayne Dyer says that you can begin to do so by changing the way you look at the necessity for weapons. It begins with each and every one of us. And we can start by taking heed of what the Tao Te Ching teaches us by making this verse your personal calling. You have the ability to save our planet from becoming a lifeless one. This is what I believe Lao-tzu is saying to you personally from his 2,500-year-old perspective. Number one, begin to see the use of physical or verbal weapons as unwanted responses. See the non-physical weapons, ladies and gentlemen. Change your need to defend yourself to a stance of realizing that this is evidence that you're ignoring the teachings of your source of being. Refuse to consider using weapons of violence in any form by noting your language and abolishing hatred from your vocabulary. Ultimate teaching there. Like that would just change the quality of all of our lives 100%. If we could just recognize when it's happening and refuse to use any form of our language that is a metaphorical weapon, that is negative, and abolish hatred and judgment and talking down about other people from our vocabulary. It's just like, it's just childish. Like now that I've researched this for so long, and I've gotten to a point to where even if people are, I love everybody. It's like everybody love everybody. Like even if people are, you know, somebody would say, oh, this person's just an idiot, or they're a bad worker, or, you know, this person's just, it's like they're just on their path. And I'm not perfect, you know, like I'm an idiot sometimes, and shoot, there might be some days I'm slacking more than others. And it's like, and not all of us are in the right spot that we should be in. That's the problem with our society, is we often end up in a weird spot that doesn't fit our abilities. And so then the people around us with abilities in that spot think down on us. And, you know, I'm just describing random. Well, we need to eliminate this kind of consciousness to where we are, you know, the idea of hatred. And it's fascinating. I'm continuing to ramble, but it's like by changing the way that we look at this, ladies and gentlemen, it's like the replace defending your right to possess and use arms, whether it's with your mind in the physical world or whether with your words or your attitudes, but replace this with an attitude that all deaths or all harm from such instruments are signals of detachment from the great wisdom, from the wisdom of the Tao, the wisdom of the ages, ladies and gentlemen, which is right behind us there. But when enough of us reach a critical mass, if you've never heard of a critical mass or the 100th monkey, make sure to Google that either after this video, or you can pause the video and Google what a critical mass is, or a 100th monkey. But simply put, when say you have 1 billion electrons, when a certain amount, like 39% or whatever of these electrons, align to a certain way, all the rest of them, all the rest of the 100% of electrons, which was bad math, but you know what I mean, all 100% then align, like boom, instantaneously. And so a critical mass is a fascinating subject when it comes to talking about these spiritual kind of developments in our own consciousness to a higher level than we're at today. No longer will we be able to evaluate when enough of us reach this critical mass in our own thinking so that it disallows the existence of weapons, we'll be moving the direction of our world, the direction of our society. No longer will we be able to evaluate the planet's level of civilization by the sophistication of our weaponry. and the power of our armies. Instead, the measurement will be on the Tao scale or the wisdom scale, on the great scale, ladies and gentlemen, of how well we're able to feed and love and be in harmony with each other. Then being civil will authenticate to the root word found in civilization. That was quite a little paragraph there. We're almost done, ladies and gentlemen. Last little bit here. And I hope that you're loving this. If you're getting value, consider subscribing, smash the like button, and tune in tomorrow. We'll be doing Wisdom of the Ages. So number 2 here, in what Wayne Dyer believes Lao-tzu is saying to us from his 2,500-year-old perspective. Number 2 is discontinue celebrating death or violence in any form. And we do this so much, especially horror movies. There's sometimes when I watch horror movies, it challenges my level of enlightenment, and it teaches me that I have yet to master myself, because I cannot believe people find that as quality entertainment. Like, you really want to watch the destruction and terror of other people and their lives as fun? What? Where have we? Yeah, anyways. Discontinue celebrating death or violence in any form. And Wayne Dyer knows exactly what I was talking about. He goes, distance yourself from as many images of death as possible, including watching movies or TV shows and nowadays video games that depict killing as a form of entertainment, along with news reports. This is like the same thing we said at the end of the last teaching. It's just like, turn off the news, ladies and gentlemen. Turn off the TV that's just going to tell you that life is bad out there. Because what you believe is what you will experience. So be very careful with what you believe, ladies and gentlemen. And that might sound like a silly, kind of funny thing to say. But the more research you do, the more you find that that is very serious. That is not a joke. That what you think about is literally your experience of reality. And if you don't take that seriously, you're going to have a very random, uncontrolled experience of reality. Usually in the way that whoever is pushing the narrative, whether it be your science teacher or the news broadcast that you watch, or your coworker, or wherever you're getting your viewpoint of the world, hopefully it's not from outside of yourself. All right, sorry, I was rambling again. Encourage them. So yes, like, turn it off, along with news reports that emphasize the extinguishing of life. Oh, such a tragedy, the airplane disappeared. It's like, it was the destiny, right? We're each on our own path. Some people are in a different place. I lost a friend when he was, probably 20, 21. I'm 30 now. It's hard to feel that. It's been 10 years already. Maybe he was 24 or something, but it was very sad, but it was, it was destiny. And I don't blame the universe for that happening. Matter of fact, I feel and know that it was right in its own way. And so, that's one of the struggles when we're trying to tune out these negative things that are so often news reports. Is like, oh, but how do we not feel bad about this? And it's, you have to build this understanding that everything is on purpose, regardless of how we feel about it in our little infinite minds when we look at the show while we're in the middle of it. Because I guarantee you, when you zoom out, if you go back and look at the 17th century, you're not going to, it's different than when you're in the middle of it, especially having people tell you how bad it is. So sorry, dang it, I'm rambling again. What we want to do, ladies and gentlemen, is teach our kids and ourselves and any children you can come in contact to, any children you can, to sanctify life. Encourage them not to take pleasure in the demise of so-called enemies, terrorists, or insurgents of all these kinds of death. Be they on the battlefield or on an urban street, are evidence of our collective will to kill. And don't demonstrate hatred and outrage. Rather, teach yourself and others that every victory accomplished with weapons is a funeral that should be mourned. It's a powerful one. And so here are some sensitive lines from St. Thomas Aquinas, a holy man who attempted to teach us what Lao-tzu offered in this verse of the Tao Te Ching. This is part of why I love these books, because he just references so many great people. How is it, Thomas Aquinas begins, they live for eons in such harmony, the billions of stars, when most men can barely go a minute without declaring war in their mind against someone they know. There are wars which no one marches with a flag, though that does not keep casualties from mounting. Our hearts irrigate this earth. We are fields before each other. How can we live in harmony? First, we need to know we are all madly in love with the same God, the same Tao, the same great force, the same great animating universal intelligence. And Wayne Dyer gives to us at the finish of this chapter, and at the finish of every chapter in this book, how we can apply this into our life. Adieu the Tao now. And this one's very simple. He says, say a private prayer, or if you're someone who thinks prayer is weird, just have a private thought with the universe for every person you read or hear about who's a victim of killing by a weapon, no matter how distant. Different than I expected, different than our normal subjects, ladies and gentlemen, but also along the same lines of aligning with the great way and living without physical and mental weapons. I have no idea what I'm going to title this video. Aligning with the great way and living without mental weapons, verbal weapons. I don't know. I can save this kind of thought for after the video. But I wanted to add something there to that do the Tao now. Say a private prayer or have a private thought today for every person that you read or hear about who's a victim of these kind of negative things going on. No matter how distant. Whenever I hear sirens, like when I'm walking into work, I often will hear sirens in the distance. And I think to myself, which are great words from a Rush song, it's like all that you can do is wish them well from a distance. It's like you have this kind of compassion and understanding. Like even the warriors or the soldiers of an opposing army who are doing so-called atrocities. I remember so many years ago, it was like, oh, North Korea, they're the worst. And then it just always switches. There's always somebody that here from our Western perspective, we're like, these are the worst people over here and we better be mad at them. And, it's like, yeah, but don't you have a little higher level of consciousness? A little more empathy and compassion, because we're all madly in love with the same God, as Sir Francis Aquinas said. And, that's how we can live in harmony, is know that we are all searching for something greater than ourselves. How is it that they live for eons in such harmony, the billions of stars? There's a great Native American or Indian saying that says, no tree has branches so foolish as to fight amongst themselves. And so if we can get to that place, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be at a much higher level. We'll be living a much higher quality of life. And that's what we're doing here on this channel. That's what we're all about. If you're interested in that, smash the subscribe button and, tell me in the comments what you're doing to increase your quality of life and the quality of the lives of those around you. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we leave off here today, put our bookmark. What's next week? Ooh, living the perfect goodness of the Tao. See, back to my favorite subjects. So I'll look forward to next Tuesday and tomorrow, Wisdom of the Ages. But like I said, before we go here, ladies and gentlemen, I implore you to seek to achieve and maintain your own happiness through enlightenment. And what that means is, go out and search, seek to discover the hidden wisdom of the ages, and then find a way to keep that and grow it and nourish it, maintain it, maintenance. Seek to maintain, seek to achieve. So that's, you go through this work to get it. Achievement is something you worked for. Seek to achieve and maintain. You keep it, you blossom it, you nourish it. Happiness, which is that's a 2-hour long topic itself, happiness, but we all have our own example of what that is. For me, it's true contentment, being, immersed in peace, but also being totally fulfilled with what it is. Seek to achieve and maintain happiness through enlightenment, through a greater awareness, a greater understanding of the nature of reality and the world that we live in and our own lives. Ladies and gentlemen, begin to make happiness the way. What we do, what we bring to life. Make happiness the path and the way, so the destination, we're always going throughout our lives like, when I get here, then I'll be happy. But if we make the process of getting there joyful, and if we create this ability to bring happiness to the moment, then the destination becomes irrelevant, because we're already there, ladies and gentlemen. And then we just start surfing the waves of life. I think I need to meditate, ladies and gentlemen. That just relaxed me. I'm like, take some deep breaths and lately I've been doing that throughout my day, and it really adds a sense of peace and clarity to your day, a lightness to your shoulder. You just all right, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I love everybody, including everybody who doesn't watch my videos, but I also love everybody that takes the time out of their life to spend here with me and Lao-tzu and Dr. Wayne Dyer and all the wonderful authors and speakers and poets in the wisdom of the ages. And, I just really appreciate that you're trying to better your life through listening to me ramble on about me trying to understand the great way and the great wisdom of the ages. And it means a lot to me, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be back tomorrow with more wonderful readings of Dr. Wayne Dyer and ramblings of my own that can expand on these topics and ideas. And hopefully we can make one more step towards an enlightened world, a higher level of consciousness for all of us, and just a better quality of life. Thank you so much again, ladies and gentlemen. And continue, I'll steal it from Rex this time, continue to be the change that you want to see in the world. Be the reflection for those who are looking to see something else when they look in the metaphorical mirror of life. Deep. All right. Love you, ladies and gentlemen. Stay good.